He charmed his way onto a popular TV dating show, and the Bachelorette even chose him. But behind the charming smile and witty remarks hid a monster. This is the unbelievable story of Rodney Alcala, the dating game killer, a man who was in the midst of a killing spree while auditioning for a TV show to find love. How did a convicted predator manage to appear on national television? And how many victims fell for his deadly charisma? Today, we re-dive in deep into the dark and twisted life of a man who turned a quest for love into a hunt for prey. Rodney James Alcala was born Rodrigo Jacques Alcala Buca in San Antonio, Texas, in 1943. From the outside, his early life seemed relatively normal, but underneath the surface, troubling signs were beginning to emerge. When he was just a teenager, his father abandoned the family, a disruptive event that some psychologists suggest may have contributed to his later issues. At 17, Alcala joined the U.S. Army, where he served as a clerk. However, his military career was cut short. In 1964, he went away absent without Levant, fled to his mother's home, claiming to have a nervous breakdown. A military psychiatrist diagnosed him with an antisocial personality disorder, a condition often characterized by a lack of empathy and a disregard for the rights of others. This diagnosis led to his medical discharge. It was a chilling foreshadowing of the man he would become. After leaving the army, Alcala drifted. He enrolled at UCLA's prestigious School of Fine Arts and began to pursue his passion for photography. This skill would later become a horrifying tool in his crimes. He was intelligent and charismatic, traits that made it easy for him to blend in and gain the trust of those around him. But his first documented vicious attack occurred in 1968. He lured an 8-year-old girl, Dali Shapiro, into his Hollywood apartment. He assaulted her brutally before a witness saw him and called the police. Alcala fled, leaving the young girl for dead. Miraculously, she survived. This heinous crime put him on law enforcement's radar. But Alcala was a master of evasion. He fled to New York and enrolled in New York University's film school under the alias John Berger, studying under the famous director Roman Polanski. He even managed to get a job as a camp counselor, putting him in close contact with more vulnerable children. The FBI eventually caught up with him and he was extradited back to California. For the attack on Tali Shapiro, he was convicted, but due to a legal loophole at the time, and the fact that the young victim's family had moved and could untestify, he was only sentenced on lesser charges. He served his 34 months. Upon his release in 1974, Alcala was a registered offender, required to check in with a parole officer. But this did little to stop him. He moved freely, changed his name frequently, and continued his predatory behavior, all while maintaining a facade of being a charming, freelance photographer. His MO was consistent. He would approach young, attractive women, often using his camera as a prop to disarm them. He'd offer to take their photos, promising them a modeling career or simply a beautiful portrait. His charm and good looks often worked. Once he had them alone, the friendly photographer would transform into a violent monster. This brings us to the most infamous and baffling chapter of Alcala's story, his appearance on the dating game in 1978. Using the name John Berger, he competed on the popular show. The host introduced him as a successful photographer who enjoyed motorcycling and skydiving. He was funny, confident, and quick-witted. He easily won over the Bachelorette, Cheryl Brett. She chose him over the other 2 contestants. But after the show, backstage, Bradshaw had a change of heart. She later said that Alcala came across as creepy and strange when the cameras were unrolling. She found his intense demeanor unsettling and refused to go on the date with him. It was a decision that likely saved her life. What no one knew at the time, not the producers, not the audience, and certainly not Cheryl Bradshaw, was that Rodney Alcala was in the middle of a killing spree. He had already murdered several women, and it's believed he killed at least 2 more after his TV appearance. For years, Alcala continued to evade capture. He moved between states, leaving a trail of missing persons and unsolved murders in his wake. His victims were from all walks of life: students, waitresses, office workers. The one thing most had in common was that they were young women who had the misfortune of crossing his path. He often strangled his victims, posing them in specific ways after their death, sometimes taking photographs. This grotesque ritual satisfied his need for control and power. The breakthrough finally came in 1979 with the abduction and murder of 12-year-old Robin. Robin was on her way to a ballet class in Huntington Beach, California, when she disappeared. A witness saw a man talking to her near the beach, and another friend of Robin's provided a composite sketch of a man she had seen talking to them earlier. The sketch, drawn by a police artist, bore a striking resemblance to Rodney Alcala. Even more damning, Alcala's parole officer recognized the man in the sketch and called the police. When investigators searched a storage locker Alcala had rented, they hit a grim jackpot. Inside, they found Robin Samso's pearl ball earrings, but that wasn't all. They also discovered a staggering collection of over 1,000 photographs. Most were portraits of hundreds of unidentified women, teenage girls, and even young boys, many in provocative or vulnerable poses. It was a gallery of potential victims. Alcala's trial for the murder of Robin Samso was a spectacle. He decided to act as his own attorney. He cross-examined witnesses, questioned experts, and addressed the jury, all with an unnerving arrogance. He portrayed himself as the victim of a conspiracy. The jury saw through the act. He was found guilty and sentenced to death. However, this was just the beginning of a long and convoluted legal battle. His conviction was overturned twice on technicalities, leading to 2 more trials. Each time, he was found guilty and resentenced to death. He remained on death row, a defiant and unrepentant figure. For decades, the hundreds of photos from his locker remained a haunting mystery. Who were these people? Were they all victims? In 2010, as DNA technology advanced, prosecutors decided to try Alcala for 4 other cold case murders from the 1970s that had been linked to him through DNA evidence. The photos were released to the public in the hopes of identifying more victims. The response was overwhelming. Families and friends of missing persons came forward, identifying loved ones in Alcala's chilling collection. As a result of these new identifications and DNA matches, Alcala was convicted of 5 more murders and again sentenced to death. Though he was officially convicted of 8 murders, investigators believe the true number of his victims could be much higher, possibly over 100, which would make him one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. The faces in those photographs represent countless stories cut short, families torn apart, and questions that may never be answered. Rodney Alcala never showed any remorse for his crimes. He played legal games until the very end, seeming to relish the attention and control he wielded within the courtroom. He died of natural causes on death row in 2021, taking the full truth of his monstrous acts with him to the grave. The story of Rodney Alcala is a chilling reminder that monsters can wear the most convincing masks. He was intelligent, charismatic, and hid in plain sight, even on national television. His case highlights the importance of trusting your instincts, just as Cheryl Bradshaw did, and the relentless work of law enforcement that finally brought his reign of terror to an end. Thank you so much for watching. The stories of the victims deserve to be remembered, and it's a stark warning about the darkness that can hide behind a charming face. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into fascinating and important cases. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one.